I'm Maryann Love from Catholic University, and I'm on sabbatical this year at the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom.
And Dr. Love, you had a chance to look over the Quadrennial Defense Review.
That's right.
QDR, as they say in the industry. Could you tell our site visitors a little bit about what the QDR is and why it's important?
Okay. It's supposed to be kind of the mission statement for the military, to give them the marching orders for the next 4 years, to be more of a strategic document, that then from that the budget and other things will flow. So kind of set the overall direction. And it's an important document. There's some really interesting things in it, though you might not know it if you were reading it without background in it. You look at the very first thing, it says we should prevail in the wars we're in. And most people, I think most citizens would look at that and say, well, duh, of course, but actually what that's saying is we should focus on this type of conflict, and that may be, it's kind of a slap at the Air Force and the Navy, who've been arguing, well, the types of conflicts we're in now are really the exception. We need to get back to the type of Cold War conflicts against big conventional armies, and we need to be spending more and putting more resources into that type of war. And this is kind of saying, not so much.
So, and that's why this most recent quadrennial review is considered something of a break with tradition. The last few reviews have focused on the ability to fight two major conflicts simultaneoly.
And this time, it says, look, we're already doing that. And what we're really going to have is we're going to have lots of conflicts that we may be called in for humanitarian relief or emergency, like Haiti, while fighting an insurgency or counterterrorism. We're going to be asked to do a lot of different types of things simultaneously, and we're not going to really face the conventional war kind of scenarios we prepared for in the past. So it's really saying we need to be more flexible, we need to be more adaptive, and we need to be more ready for a variety of threats, not just kind of traditional conventional armies.
So that's what Defense Secretary Gates said was in the QDR.
Yes.
Did you really find that there was much different about, specifically in terms of budget priorities, about this QDR versus older QDRs?
Well, before the QDR came out, he actually cut some funding to some major weapons systems, which is very hard to do in Washington. And to the extent that that's kind of a warning shot, to the extent that that might occur more, stay tuned. So that was the good news. The bad news is the budget didn't do more than that. So there are the statement of these are our priorities, but then if you look at that next to the budget, there's still a whole lot of spending for traditional military hardware systems for fighting conventional wars against a Russia or a China that might emerge in the future. Despite the QDR saying, even if they were ever our enemies eventually, they do not plan to fight us that way. The Chinese plan to fight us through cyber attacks, through irregular warfare, but mostly through cybersecurity. They've been hacking us forever, trying to find our weak underbelly in the infrastructure, in electronic infrastructure, and putting a lot of spending into traditional military systems isn't going to help us with that.
Does the QDR ever take a look at strategic needs and goals from a perspective as the economy as being an actual vibrant part of our strategic reality?
Not so much. It's supposed to be more of a what's the threat environment, what do we see for the future. But this one does say, listen, given the economy, we need to make some hard choices. We can't believe that military budgets will continue to expand as has happened since September 11th. Nevertheless, you would be hard-pressed to say what hard choices have been made when you look at the price tag for the Department of Defense compared with the great deal of fine-tuning we'll be looking at other elements of the budget with.
From a Catholic perspective, what can be said about the QDR and its priorities, good and ill?
I think there's a number of positives. One, it talks a lot more about preventing conflict. And it says that many of the threats we will face, our military response is not appropriate, would not be the most effective. We need a stronger Department of State. We need stronger aid and civilian tools to use, and a real focus on prevention, which is very, very helpful and very, very much part of the Catholic perspective on things. And I think it also talks about peace building and needing support from the local populations, kind of a grassroots approach. And that's, of course, also very much part of a Catholic perspective. So there certainly are some good things to applaud, even if the price tag would not be what we would appreciate.
And why would we consider that not a good thing from a Catholic perspective, that the price tag continues to increase, outpacing inflation?
Well, because when you account for all of the military spending in other parts of the budget, we're spending more than 1/3 of our budget on the military. And if you look at that when there's other pressing needs, I think that probably would be out of size with the threats we face. It's certainly out of size with what the rest of the world spends for defense spending. It's more than almost the rest of the world combined. It's more than any possible adversary by many orders of magnitude. So you have to ask, who's benefiting from that? Is that really getting us more security, or is it making us less secure because it's undermining our economic performance?